to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. I'm your Tuesday, Thursday show host, Skylar Angus Barker. We've got a great show coming up with some information about how Leatho Jackson learned how to cook steaks and ribs in her aunt's restaurant, and police officers are leaving rural areas for higher pay. And don't touch that dial because Sam Romeo will share some things that you don't want to miss. You're listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio.
Join Southern Miss Radio on Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. till noon for Sunday Brunch. You'll get jazz and swing music from artists as wide-ranging as Bix Beiderbecke to Brad Meldau, from Dippermouth himself to Esperanza Spalding. But relax, you don't need to know anything about the music to enjoy it. It's a great way to wake up on Sunday morning. Sunday Brunch from 6 a.m. until noon on Southern Miss Radio.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. In USM campus news, Southern Miss Marine Education Center holds annual high school Hurricane Bowl competition. The Southern Miss Marine Education Center hosted over 50 high school students across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida for the Central Gulf Coast Regional Hurricane Bowl. This event paves the way for future researchers and explorers, with the winners of said event competing in the National Ocean Science Bowl's virtual finals in May. Lacey Lindsay, a MEC Marine Education Project Specialist, had this to say. "What I love most is seeing the students' enthusiasm and teamwork. It's inspiring to watch them showcase their knowledge and passion for ocean studies. Hopefully, this experience encourages them to pursue careers in marine science, environmental policy, or other STEM fields. For many participants and winners, the competition could be the first step toward exciting opportunities in the future." In Hattiesburg news, man arrested after deadly fentanyl pills recovered in Rankin County. According to Rankin County Sheriff Brian Bailey, the arrest happened Sunday around 4 p.m. during a traffic stop. Initially, the man evaded the traffic stop, which started a chase. While following the vehicle, a Rankin County deputy watched as the man repeatedly threw out a powdery-like substance out the window. The man was eventually taken into custody and taken to the county jail, charged with felony fleeing and felony trafficking of a controlled substance. In Mississippi news, man found dead with multiple gunshot wounds in Jackson. Capitol Police are currently investigating after a man was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds in Jackson. According to DPS spokeswoman Bailey Martin, officers responded to the scene around 1:20 a.m. on Bailey Avenue. When they arrived, they found a man dead with gunshot wounds. No one has been arrested at this time. Anyone with information is welcome to contact Capitol Police at 601-359-3125. In national news, Defense Secretary Hegseth booed and heckled by military families protesting against DEI push. When Pete Hegseth arrived at the United States European Command headquarters in Germany, he was met with the booing of around 24 people who lived on the base, as a demonstration against the policies currently being implemented by the Trump administration. The crowd was chanting DEI as a reference to the recent ban Hegseth placed on books in Defense Department schools. These books include subjects covering psychology and immigration in DoD schools. Hegseth said in a memo, "Effective immediately, all new accessions for individuals with a history of gender dysphoria are paused. All unscheduled, scheduled, or planned medical procedures associated with affirming or facilitating a gender transition for service members are paused." We'll be right back with sports and weather after a word from our sponsors.
Regresando a la escuela, sí tenía miedo, porque yo tenía pensamientos que no sabía si iba a poder hacerlo.
A los 47 años, Marco obtuvo su high school diploma.
Nunca es muy tarde para obtenerlo.
Nadie obtiene un diploma solo. Si estás pensando en obtener tu high school diploma, puedes recibir ayuda. Encuentra clases gratis para adultos cerca de ti en completatudiploma.org. Repito, completatudiploma.org. Presentado por la Dollar General Literacy Foundation y el Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. Now for your sports. Southern Miss Track and Field earns multiple podium finishes at UAB Invitational. The Golden Eagle men and women's indoor track and field teams delivered strong performances at the UAB Invitational on Saturday, obtaining a combined 10 top 3 finishes in Birmingham. The Golden Eagle women scored 6 podium finishes, while the Golden Eagle men earning 4 top 3 finishes. Southern Miss is going to be at the Music City Challenge in Nashville, Tennessee on Friday, February 14th. Softball falls short in pitcher's duel against number 20 Northwestern. Southern Miss battled on through 7 innings against number 20 Northwestern Sunday morning on the final day of the NFCA Leadoff Classic, but lost 2-1 after a late Wildcats home run. Jana Lee of the Golden Eagles threw for the entirety of the game, registering her 15th career complete game. To keep up with all the Golden Eagle sports activities, head on over to southernmiss.com. Now on for your weather. It looks like we'll be having some rain this afternoon or early evening later today. Today will still be warm, however, with the high of 81 degrees. Once the rain arrives, our low will be 60 degrees. The rain is most likely going to continue tomorrow with some thunderstorms to join alongside it. It also looks like we'll be under a low risk of severe weather tomorrow, so make sure to keep an eye out for that and prepare. Up next, we have Letha Jackson learning how to cook steaks at her aunt's restaurant. Check it out.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. Letha Jackson learned how to cook ribs and steaks by working in her aunt's restaurant in Bogalusa. She looks back with pride on her 50-year career as a professional short-order cook.
My aunt had a restaurant in Bogalusa. It was a sawmill, paper mill. And when the men would get off for lunch, 12 o'clock, they would come there to eat, a lot of them. And that's what she was doing. Yeah, well, it was good. She was a cook, oh God. She trained me, and she cooked like greens and beans and pork chops and rice and red beans and meatballs and spaghetti. She would cook rib tips, steaks and all like that. All kinds of different foods, you know. And when I came here, I worked short order cook for Sand Motel here. And I worked at a little cafe called Carney's Cafe by the post office in town. Then I went to work for Mr. Nick, and I worked for him 14 years. And so I've been a cook 50 years and enjoy every minute of it.
Bill Ellison hosts Voices of Our People World War II, a new podcast from Mississippi Moments, sponsored by the Mississippi Humanities Council. That's Voices of Our People World War II, wherever you get your podcasts.
That was Letha Jackson. Now please give a warm Golden Eagle welcome to Sam Romeo. Hey, how are you?
Living the dream. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So first and foremost, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am currently a junior majoring in multimedia journalism.
Mm-hmm.
I work at Southern Miss campus at the Union. I'm a complex manager, and I'm also a producer for WUSM.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the student union you were talking about?
So the student union, it's like the hub, the THAD, and the Union.
Mm-hmm.
And And so basically, I'm a complex manager. I oversee all the events that we I host on campus.
Yeah.
Specifically that building, and I'm constantly interacting with different student events and organizations and different types of clients.
Okay. And what type of events happen under your jurisdiction?
Literally any type of events. We've also done outside events. We've had weddings held at Trent Lot.
Wow.
We've had ATO held their 75th annual Jubilee at the Trent Lawn Center. The Trent Lawn Center is way bigger and we have way more formal events there.
Right.
The ones in the THAD are more like student meetings.
Yeah.
We've had schools come and like host their like choir events at our school or at our THAD and stuff like that.
That's really cool. So I understand that you're an undergraduate student here at USM, as you mentioned earlier. How would you describe your time here at USM?
The best experience of my life.
Awesome.
I have found my friends for life. I've found opportunities that are going to build my resume, or not my resume, build my portfolio in order to help me get a job in the real world.
And how does a typical academic day look for you?
I wake up and I either work out or I just go straight to class. After class, I have work and or homework. And after that, I normally go to my fraternity house and be involved in whatever's going on over there.
Okay. And for anyone who missed it earlier, what are you majoring in?
Multimedia journalism.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about like your knowledge with that?
So far, my knowledge is learning how to write different news stories and articles. I just recently published my first article in our student prints newspaper.
Wow.
Yes, very exciting. So happy I did that. I'm also learning how to make my own podcast, and
cool.
I'm also learning the media and law of journalism and all that stuff.
Okay, well, first, can you tell us a little bit about the article that you wrote for the Student Prints?
So I recently just wrote this article about the Mississippi law being passed for bounty hunters being able to now hunt illegal immigrants.
Right.
Like legally, they're offering a program where people can get certified and get paid to hunt people.
Yeah, that's golly.
Crazy.
Yeah. And with your podcast that you're producing, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I haven't started it yet,
Yeah.
but I have my own personal goal of creating my own podcast. It's going to be called Everybody Loves Sam, and I'm literally just going to talk about whatever I want.
Awesome.
And I just can't wait to start pursuing that.
Is there any type of teaser topics that like you're going to talk about at all?
Literally anything.
Anything.
Like nothing will be like literally anything.
Okay, awesome. And is that going to be held here at the Student Media Center, or is that going to be at your own?
That I would like to just do on my own and have like my own brand and all that.
Okay, cool. I understand that you're part of the radio division here at the Student Media Center. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I just recently got this position. I'm volunteering here to be a producer just to gain more experience, to get more knowledge, just like on the radio show, because this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
And all it took was I had to email Dr. Martin, and he immediately told me there was a position open that I could happily just take, and that's the easiest experience ever.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in a day? What's a typical work day look for you?
A typical work day is I come to the studio, and I immediately get on the computer, and I start looking at the different Mississippi moments and news raps, and I listen to all the different ones, and then I get to pick whichever one I think should be put on, and then I get to like name it and do all that.
Yeah.
I also get to help with the clients. Whenever we have a client come in, my job is to greet them and welcome them and then help them with anything they might need.
Right.
And then after that, once the show's going on, I'm in charge of watching the show and just being there for any type of assistance.
Right. So you're actually in charge of the things that we listen to with the Mississippi Moments and the news wrap, and that's really cool. Is there ever any time that you like struggle trying to pick which topic you want to choose?
Sometimes I feel like there are so many important things that need to be said. I definitely feel like it could be difficult at times to like weigh which should be heard over others.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anyone that inspires you here at USM or in general?
This is like crazy, but I feel like I inspire myself.
Okay. Can you tell us more about that?
I just feel like I have seen myself grow from like the bottom to the top, and I'm not even like there at the top yet.
Yeah.
But the growth I've seen myself make just like feeds me more into knowing that I can continue to do more. If that makes sense. Like the sky's the limit. Like anything's possible.
So it kind of almost sounds like you're like an advocate for like mental health and like making sure that you like your body's right and your mind's right. Is that true?
It's very funny because one of the things I really want to talk about on my podcast is mental health. Like that was my biggest idea, but I've had people tell me that maybe that's not something where I should go with. But like one of my most important things is making sure I'm good, because if I'm not good, there's no good I could do to anyone else.
Right. That's 100% true, and I 100% agree with that, because like mental health is just such a long journey to being able to like reconnecting with yourself and finding yourself out of all this mess that is the world. And it's so amazing that you're like preaching that and being able to also talk about it in your podcast, because I think that's a really important message to cover.
I feel like not enough people talk about it too. I feel like it's talked about, but no one's showing all the vulnerable parts of like all the vulnerable parts of mental health.
Yeah, of course. And what words of advice do you have for our USM students?
I would say don't be afraid to put yourself into new situations. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to be outgoing. And no matter what, the only person that's concerned about yourself is you, and you should take that to your advantage.
Okay, that's really awesome. And I know that we were talking a little bit just a second ago about like how mental health is important, and we both see it as like this like big necessity for people to like talk about and raise awareness of. What do you feel about our campus like therapy sessions?
Personally, I feel like there should be a change.
Yeah.
I have a therapist, and before I got my own, I tried to find one on campus because they preach about having these people that you can come and talk to. Well, when I went to make an appointment, they told me I had to wait like a month, if not more than that.
Yeah.
And my biggest issue, if I need help now and I can't get that, then I feel like it's only going to get worse. And if I have to and mind you, I wait a month out, I'm going to feel better. I already know I'm going to feel better, but then I won't have them when I need them. It just feels like we should be looking at more options to make sure our students know that we care about them, we want to help them, because if we aren't doing well, then our school isn't doing well. And that's the most important part.
I 100% agree with that, because like for me, I tried to get on-campus help from this mental health like clinic or whatever you want to call it, and like they just couldn't help me. They guided me to like other resources, which was grateful, and that's amazing. But like that's your job. You're supposed to help students here on campus.
What's the point of having the office if we cannot use it for what it's needed?
Right. And I think with your podcast and being able to talk about that, whether it's about USM or about mental health in general, would be a very strong thing. Is there any like platform that it's on or it's going to be on? Or
I'm going to put it everywhere as soon as I get to put it there.
Awesome. And I know that we're running a little bit low on time. However, I do want to talk to you about what you mentioned earlier about your article. Was that a difficult thing for you to write about how immigration is having all these people like attempting to like round them up and like attack them as like paid bounty hunters? Was that a hard thing for you to write?
Yes, I definitely, it's not something that I just want to like, personally, like, yeah. I think it was very hard to write because it's such a serious topic, but I chose to write it because it's so serious that everyone needs to know what's happening. As much as like it really upsets me to hear that we're doing things like that, I think that the news needs to be known and everyone needs to know what's happening.
Yeah. And it comes at a time right now when like looking at the news now is just constant like beratements, it's constant things where it just feels like everyone is being put down in this place. But it's weird knowing that we live in like such a society where we're built on like give me your huddled masses, and now we're trying to push those people away, and it's very confusing.
It's like, what is the plan? Do we have a plan? Like, why are we just doing all these it's what is going on in the world? Like no words.
Right. And are you going to be writing more articles for the student prints? Or?
I plan on it. I have to write an article a week for the class I'm in, but it just depends whether it's good enough or not to be put into the newspaper.
Yeah. And is the last paper that you wrote about the immigration policy?
Yes.
Okay. What paper are you writing now?
I haven't picked a topic yet, but the one I just wrote last week that I don't think is going to be in the newspaper, but I wrote about how Mississippi is there's a lawsuit against the Hattiesburg, Mississippi for the traffic cameras that are being used in school zones.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So basically, in 2009, Mississippi outlawed the use of traffic cameras, but they were able to use a loophole because they had an officer watching the cameras. Then they were able, so like someone was actually watching it, so they were able to get away with that. But the city is now filing a lawsuit because you can't prove if that person was in the car or if they were driving or if there was a camera malfunction or whatnot. So like they're trying to turn that over.
And was that a difficult thing for you to write to like gather information on, or was
I
that
felt
something?
like it was difficult to find someone to get a opinion. Like I wanted to talk to like a police officer or whatnot. That was difficult, but writing about it, no, just because,
Yeah. Okay. And do you have any last words that you want to share with our listeners?
I have one more piece of advice.
Yeah.
Be a fountain, not a drain.
Ooh, I like that. Do you want to go in any more depth about that, or
just instead of draining literally anything or yourself, like fill yourself up. Like
Awesome.
you will not get anything from being a drain.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sam Romeo, for coming on today and providing a voice for our Eagles. Coming up, we've got police officers are leaving rural areas for higher pay. Check it out.
Police officers continue to leave rural counties in South Mississippi for departments that offer higher pay. Some mayors say retention is at an all-time low, leaving smaller communities struggling to keep their forces staffed. But tight budgets mean limitations with increasing pay. Representative Jeffrey Harness aims to alleviate some of that financial pressure with House Bill 855. It would give officers a one-time $600 stipend if they stay with the department for at least a year.
It's going to be about $6.5 million. I figure we can start there, and then maybe we can move to something bigger, but at least it's a start.
Representative Harness says if Bill 855 doesn't pass this year, he'll bring it back. I'm Kennedy Drake, reporting for the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center.
Radio. Huge thanks to Seb Hodges, our audio engineer, and Meadow Smith, our video engineer, for keeping this bird flying. Big shout out to our assistant producer, Sam Romeo, and our program director, Adeline Fields, as well as our executive producer, Ori Ide, and our GM, Dr. Wilbur Martin. Don't forget to follow SM2 Media on social media. I'm your Tuesday Thursday show host, Skylar Angus Barker. Stay golden, Eagles.